interesting location for us to meet up. Typically, studio la meet பண்ணுவோம், but now we are in the midst of a construction zone. Tell us more about this.
The thought process that can we do something beyond just being a loan provider to them was there in our mind even before we started Equitas.
Bank with us, you contribute to a better community. Talk to us about that.
They should never feel that they were treated like a free patient. Because if that feeling comes to them, then the whole thing is defeated.
Hi, my name is Kriba Shankar. I'm a digital entrepreneur, a professor, and an organic farmer. One of my passions in life is to identify and meet really interesting personalities. And one such person we're going to be meeting today is Mr. P N Vasudevan, the founder and managing director of Equitas Small Finance Bank. After working for 20 years in a company, he decided to call it quits and jump into entrepreneurship, which is very, very rare for someone who is working for that long in one particular company. I think that is fantastic. Someone who gives employment to 20,000 people, but someone who makes an impact for lakhs of people by lending to people in the lower strata of society. Let's go meet Mr. P N Vasudevan.
Hi Kripa, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful meeting you. Fantastic thing.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
This is a very interesting location for us to meet up. Typically, studio la meet பண்ணுவோம், but now we are in the midst of a construction zone. Tell us more about this.
This is an hospital that we are building from Equitas. We want to build a cancer multi-specialty hospital. We are almost ready now. The last equipments are being ordered now. We are hoping to start the hospital by September 23.
Why a cancer hospital in particular? Very curious.
You know, in Equitas, we do a primary medical camps. We have a tie-up with about 900 hospitals across the country, and every month practically 300 to 350 camps are run. So in those camps, we help people identify what is their illness, and then we try to help them by linking them to some hospital where they can get treated properly. Cancer is something that we repeatedly see in these camps. When we tell them that, you know, there is this thing, first of all, they become afraid. Then they become defensive. You know, they become defensive. They don't want to accept it. And finally, when they feel that there's no choice, they have to accept, they give up. Because they know that cancer is a very costly process to treat. Second thing is they are not sure who will be able to give them that help, where to go for that help. So they just kind of give up. Very often we have seen that. So that's where the whole thought came. Can we start a cancer hospital where we can then go and give them very high quality, you know, healthcare at either zero price. Some of them, if they're really poor, we'll just give them free, or at a discounted price. So that's where the whole idea came from.
Is there a background, a personal incident or anything that motivated you to think of this particular one?
Well, I had a very close brush with a cancer patient, one of my nephews, my elder brother's son actually. So he was 30 years old, absolutely prime fit and in a prime of his health. And then, you know, this was diagnosed. But again, the mistake he made, he was alone in Singapore, and the indications had come at some earlier point. But he ignored it, and he kept getting some treatment for some other thing. The doctors kept giving him treatment for various kind of possible issues, but not the cancer. And by the time that we realized that it is cancer, he was already in stage 4. So then the whole process that he went through, and you know, I was with him personally throughout his last few months of his journey, and you know, it was very sad. It was really sad. And then at some point, you know, when you know that there is no more hope, and it's an amazingly difficult time for anyone to go through. And so I was always thinking, if someone had been with him at that time, if someone had guided him properly at that time, would it have been possible to have realized this at a stage 1, stage 2 level, and then probably, you know, be able to have cured him, and he could have been alive today. So when we wanted to start this hospital, the objective is, it's not just an hospital that we are going to run. We are also going to run secondary and primary health camps combined with this tertiary treatment center. So we are going to go out and do a screening to people, try to identify at the earliest stage and tell them that at this stage you have absolutely a good chance of recovery, totally good chance of recovery. So that's what we want to do. We don't want them to think that cancer means end. It's not so. It depends on what stage you are able to find it out.
Yeah.
So if we can do that, and this hospital is only a tertiary hospital, it's only going to be the treatment hospital. But we are going to supplement with secondary and primary centers in all the districts near Chennai, where we can try and find out people at an early stage, diagnose them, and then start treatment right immediately. And then spread this awareness that cancer detected early is actually not an issue at all.
It's not an issue at all. It's just like any other illness which can be cured. I think it's a very powerful thing. Vasu, we are right now on the 3rd floor of the cancer hospital. What is this space for?
This place where we are standing is a general ward for the ladies. There should be about 17 beds in this place. We have one on the left hand side, which is a general ward for men, around 13-14 beds. So approximately 30 beds will be there on this place, in this floor, for the general wards. These are meant for people who most probably it will be free treatment. And if somebody can pay some money, yes, they can still pay some discounted portion. But otherwise, the rest of the people will be free. So there will be one floor where it will be subsidized. People who can pay part of the amount, and then the remaining will be subsidized. And then there will be another floor where it will be fully paid. So people who can afford to pay, then we would like them to pay, because then that helps us to sustain the hospital on a long-term basis. So that's how this whole thing is programmed.
Was there an inspiration from other organizations? The free, subsidized, paid is a brilliant model. So I wanted to see, have you been inspired by other models around?
Yeah, we have this eye hospital, Arvind Eye Hospital.
Right.
It's a case study that I'm sure all of us have read, right? It's an amazing work what he has done, and where he has actually been able to combine a fully commercial hospital tied in with a completely free service also. So it's a good model. Ravan, who is a person who manages this whole project, he has done a lot of research into Arvind model.
Got it.
And so basically we have tried to come up with a similar model where on a combined basis the hospital should be, after a few years of making initial losses and all that, after a few years it should be able to sustain itself. And even the people who pay fully, the charges will be much less than typical other hospitals, because the land is given free to us by Sringeri Saradha. The construction of the building is done from our CSR funds, and the equipments are being funded by Tata Trust.
Fantastic.
So neither the land, nor the building, nor the equipment cost, I don't have to recover any of those capital cost, right? And since I don't have to recover any of the capital cost, the ultimate charges I have to levy is more to cover up my running expenses. So that way, even for the fully paying patients, I'm expecting that our charges will be significantly lower than what they pay in the market.
Vasu, we are on the floor with what looks like rooms. Can you explain to us?
So this is a floor with private wards, where people who are going to be able to pay, they can stay here. But the message to the team is that the general ward should be as good or better than the private wards, because the purpose of starting this whole hospital is not for the guys who can actually come to this floor and pay money to us.
Right.
The purpose is not for them. The purpose is for those people who will go to the general ward because they are not able to pay. The entire message to the team is that the general ward should be done well, maintained well, and serviced well. Even patients finally come to us, they should feel that they have been treated like their guest. They should never feel that they were treated like a free patient.
Correct.
And the feeling, that feeling should never come to them, because if that feeling comes to them, then the whole thing is defeated.
That nobility of the cause is what makes this project very, very exciting. Yeah. And another one that caught my attention is the Companies Act of 2013. They mandate every corporate company to spend 2% on CSR activities. I have also noticed that companies grudgingly do that. Right? But Equitas is different, and you voluntarily are now contributing 5% for CSR activities. I'm curious to know what is the philosophy behind that.
So in 2007, when I wanted to start Equitas as a microfinance institution, I had no experience in microfinance. I've been in retail lending. I was in Cholamandalam Finance for about 20 years. I was doing vehicle financing. So all my life I've been in lending. But microfinance is something I had never done. So before I started Equitas Microfinance in 2007, I wanted to understand this whole space and understand what kind of people deal with microfinance and all that. So with the help of other MFI companies, I went and met a lot of group members, beneficiaries of the financing and all that. In 2007, we took a call that 5% of our profits will go to the trust, for the trust to carry out its activities.
And at that time, companies were mandated only to give 1% back then.
No, there was no mandatory at all.
There was no
mandate at all.
Wow.
The mandate of 2% came in 2013.
Okay.
Prior to 2013, companies were not required to do anything on CSR. I mean, it's voluntary.
Wow. That is extremely noble. So I like the tagline of Equitas, beyond banking. And I love the meaning behind that also. When you bank with us, you contribute to a better community. Talk to us about that.
It's a tagline we thought is most appropriate for us because it's something that is natural to us. We actually live that. So it's not a tagline where we have to go out and invent something which looks very nice or something like that. This is what exactly we do day in and day out. And so we thought that this fit what we are actually doing in Equitas. Welcome Kriba. Welcome to the construction site office. We have had a long walk around the building. I hope the tender coconut was good.
Absolutely refreshing.
So
Thank
if
you
you're
so much.
done,
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we can remove our helmet also.
It's a relief.
Yeah, it's a relief. The thought process that can we do something beyond just being a loan provider to them was there in our mind even before we started Equitas. And the moment we started Equitas, within 2 months we registered our trust, Equitas Development Initiatives Trust. Today we are doing any number of activities through the trust. We run 8 schools in different parts of Tamil Nadu. About nearly 7,000 children are studying in the schools. It's called Equitas Gurukul Matriculation Schools. So that's something that we do. We do a lot of other activities like payment dwellers rehabilitation program, which is called Bird's Nest. Desire to give or desire to help is not something which is mine, or it's not something which is the top 3-4 employees in the bank or senior managers something. It's actually come right into the system. And then we have Equitas Healthcare Foundation, which is constructing this hospital and which will run this hospital. So we have 2 Equitas Trust, one for the hospital and one for the remaining activities. There's a person called Shravan who heads this hospital project for Equitas Bank, and we are putting all kind of efforts to try and ensure that we can open it as quickly as we can. But most probably we should be able to open it by September of this year.
This dream take into reality. You're standing in what will be a fantastic cancer hospital. I'm very curious. Tell me more about this hospital.
Then Vasu called me one day and said, Shravan, can we get into a project called Cancer Hospital? I said, what are you talking? I'm a retailer. I basically come from Hindustan Lever, Nestle, Henkel kind of a FMCG companies. He said, Shravan, we can do, just the thought of you should have sort of commitment. I think probably, I said, let me try. And I got into the project. Then we met a lot of people, journey started. I probably traveled lots of hospitals and saw the plight of these patients. When you want to set up a cancer hospital, it is more than 100 crores. If you set up a 100-bed hospital, it is 100 crores. In that, the capex is very high, and the equipment cost alone will be 40-45 crores. Why can't we have a model where they come, we can charge them affordable, the affordable treatment, high quality thing we can bring. So Sringeri, Saradha people we met, they were so kind, they saw our ideologies, they came and saw what we are doing, And they said, please take the land. This is the land around 9.5 grounds. They said, this you can take it and build the hospital. And we also met Tatas. Tatas are kind enough to accept to give some major equipment, which is very expensive equipment to treat patients. And we have 100 beds here, 2 major operation theatres and 1 minor operation theatre. We will have LINAC accelerator, which is basically a radiation therapy machine, which will be in between basement and the ground floor. And brachy, which is another way of treating. The brachytherapy also is there in the ground and basement floor. We will probably have 12 consultation rooms, and we have general ward around 30 beds, and the balance is paid. And yeah, that's about statistics.
Hope you enjoyed this conversation with Mr. P N Vasudevan. Well, I certainly did. What an inspiring person and what inspiring action. And I'm really rooting for the success of the hospital. And the hospital is going to open its doors shortly. So keep yourself peeled for this news on the social media handles of Equitas Small Finance Bank and on the personal handles of Mr. P N Vasudevan. Until next time, see you around and keep inspiring.